Let's flip roles a little bit. We're now that manager, and we're really nervous. We've got 5 people on our team normally. We're down to 4. We really don't want to lose these 4, because once you lose these 4, now the team's going to likely turn into kind of a, the opposite of a virtuous cycle, or we're going to go downhill, because now then those 3 people are carrying the load, then you lose another person, and then now you're rebuilding and you've got a real problem. How do we keep our people? How can we create environments that promote this sense of career growth and everything that you're talking about, with our own teams?
It's a wonderful question. And actually, there's a really interesting statistic I saw the other day called the tsunami of the Great Recession. It's that 50% of people that are around someone that leaves a job starts questioning if their job is right for them. And so if someone has left your team, if you're down to 3, those people are wondering if they can get paid better somewhere else. They're wondering if they should leave. They're now worried about that workload that's going to have to get distributed. And so it's a moment of fear. It's a moment where you shake things up. People actually are all shook up. And so one of the best things you can do in those situations is to start communicating with your team. And that, it sounds so simple, but one of the most effective ways of engaging and retaining your associates or your employees is one-on-ones, regular weekly one-on-ones. And it's not just, hey, let's just have a status update on what you're working on. It's how you feeling this week? How can I help you this week? How can I support you? What struggles are you facing? What do you want to create in your career? How can I help you get there? And so you are building a relationship with your team to ensure that they communicate with you when they are feeling like they want to leave. And it's kind of similar to a stay interview. You go to people that are in your organization right now and you ask them questions like, why are you still here? And you really learn the reasons why that your organization keeps them. And through these conversations, if people know that they have this time and space to share this with you, and they're not going to be judged and they're going to be supported, that can build the relationships you need and help you also preempt, kind of get ahead of any situations that may lead to someone leaving your organization. I was working with an executive the other day, and he shared with me how he's really enjoying his one-on-ones, and how one of his senior executives came into the office and said that they're really overwhelmed with work. And he was really proud that he felt comfortable saying that. And so he's like, well, take the time that you need, take some time off if you need to. I totally understand it. And I stopped him for a second and I said, okay, so did you coach him through his workload? And he's like, what do you mean? And you go, well, did you see where he was prioritizing his work? Did you ask him what work was actually causing him to be exhausted? Did you try to problem solve and see where you could help add greater support, where the struggles are? Maybe there's an issue with resources, or maybe there's some conflict with the client. And he's like, I didn't know I was supposed to do that. I go, yeah. So not only are you creating a safe space to have these conversations, but you're also putting yourself in a coaching seat and trying to problem solve and support. And that can retain people. And now, if someone wants more money or they want more benefits, or, there's those types of things you need to learn about to either set the proper expectations or to help kind of spearhead how you can get that for them. Because if someone is really wanting a title change and you tell them, yeah, I hear you, but you don't actually tell them the steps you're taking to champion that, or don't help them be realistic in terms of okay, we can do this, but it's going to take 8 months. This is how we're going to help you get this work now within 3 months or 4 months. So it's really making sure that the person understands what you're doing and why things are the way they are, not just the fact that you're listening and you're there for them too.
I love that. I love all those things. I love the fact that you make the point of those one-on-ones as a great way to retain people. And I kind of put it into 3 buckets as I'm hearing you. First, it's the natural support bucket. What can I do to support you? What resources do you need? And even some conversations to help them unlock areas where they're stuck. I like the coaching bucket because that also is a way for them to grow and develop. You're actually helping them think differently about problems, and they're learning. So they now feel like, wow, I'm in a place I'm not only am I supported, I'm learning, I'm getting better, I'm getting smarter. And then you also mentioned this last one, it's kind of subtle, but when you were talking about making those commitments, I think follow through is an important point too. Because so often I've heard of managers, they kind of loosely promise a promotion and then it gets kicked out another year, and then now the employee says, I don't trust this person. They're making these promises, but they're empty promises. And I think if you make a promise and then you stick to it, even if it's 8 months, if you hold to 8 months and it comes to fruition, the employee's going to say, okay, I got it. Like they followed through on that promise. And I think those are all good. And while people, go after, more money right now, I do think they've got to be really wary. If it's a lot more money, you've got to ask yourself, why are they paying me this much more money? It's not because I'm super pretty or handsome. Promise you that. It's probably because you're walking into something that's pretty much a mess. I'm down in the South and live in Atlanta. So we would say in the South, we'd say it's a hot mess. You're probably walking into a hot mess.